Rogers cross scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease. Score!
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Pod Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I'm John. What's going on, everybody?
And if you didn't notice that extra little pep in my voice, it is because we're flying solo tonight.
Tag team back again.
It's like when your wife leaves with the kids and you got the house to yourself. Like, doesn't it kind of feel like that?
Yeah, and you're like, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then you sit down for one round of video games and realize your time's already up.
Right. And you're hoping they're running late. You get that text like, hey, just give me a couple minutes. Oh, okay, whatever, you know.
Right. Yeah, and try to subtly do the whole like, so what time do you think you'll be home?
Right. Can I fit in an extra, you know? But no, I mean, and the best part about that even is that even if, like Matt Casey, he's out having a great night with his buddies, even if he wanted to pop in, he's the one of the crew that, you know, needs the link to do so because he hasn't logged in like the rest of us. So he can't.
He's shut out.
He's shut out. It is just John and Derek and John, the OGs of Pod Street Bullies, talking about this past week. Kind of a downer. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Not the greatest.
No, I mean, I'm so over outdoor games, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I'd be fine if the Flyers don't get one ever again.
Oh, 100%. Unless it's the Winter Classic. Like, I'll take that if they curb the Stadium Series games. It's too much.
It should just be one. It should be just the Winter Classic, one a year. Or, like, I was even at the point where I'm like, you know what? Make this the All-Star game.
Right. Outdoor game. Festivities, everything outdoors. We pitched it, I think, I feel like I pitched it on this show. Do it in Lake Placid one year.
Yeah.
Have it be like a gimmicky, I don't want to say like a gimmicky type thing, but like have some fun with it. It doesn't need to be, you know, historic Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, Yankee Stadium. Like, who cares? Like, put it in a place that like is fun, you know, like Placid. They did the Lake Tahoe. Like, Lake Tahoe would be a blast.
I mean, that was a nightmare.
Well, yeah, because we had a team that was all sick with COVID playing the best damn team in the NHL.
Right, but do you remember there was like so many issues with the sun? It was like, I don't know. I mean,
do it at night.
I think
That'll
part of the problem is that like this is part of your 82 game schedule.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of your regular games, but it's not a normal game. You know, like just everything about it. The fans are far away, you know, they're playing freaking outside, you know, today's game, they're in the sunlight. It's just like, it's hard for me to treat this like a normal game, but it has the same repercussions as any other game would.
Right. And I know we talked about it before we got on, like we both obviously watched the game against Jersey, but like to me, and I don't know if it's for you or not, so please chime in on this, but like, does it look like the rink is bigger and these guys look smaller, and B, that they're playing at a snail's pace?
Yeah, I mean, there's just something off about it. Like I was even watching the New York Islanders and New York Rangers one this afternoon, and it was just like this free for all. Like I thought at one point there'd be like 100 goals by the end. It just seems like there's somebody plugged in a video game setting somewhere in these games, you know.
It's just Islanders hockey, though. I mean,
well, right. Well, they messed that up. Not like we can really talk, but it was like, the Flyers didn't have a great game last night, but I'm so much more like, well, I'm just pinning it on the fact that this is just not a normal circumstance.
Right. It's hard to look at this game and be like, and have it have and think that this is indicative of what we're going to see moving forward. Like it's not bad conditions, but like when you're outside, you account for all the variables. It's colder than normal. The ice isn't the way it should be when it's inside. Like nothing's going to go your way. Pucks are going to bounce more than they typically do.
Crowd is miles away.
Right. It's not like they're on top of you, like in the Wells Fargo Center or at the Rock, whatever it might be. So it's like that's enough to get acclimated to. And then on top of that, you got to acclimate yourself to the fact that you're outside, you're wearing extra layers, you're dealing with those conditions. Like it sucks for these guys.
I believe intermission was longer too.
Yeah, because they had the Gaslight Anthem playing, the Jonas Brothers,
Right.
like
it's such an NHL thing. It's like we're not quite big league like the rest of the major sports where we've got the Gaslight Anthem and Joey Bag of Donuts, being the ones who are dealing with our freaking.
I enjoyed the national anthem, the guy on sax from the East End. Like that was pretty neat. I like that.
Yeah.
Anthem, dude, I like them, but
I didn't even know who they were until they played the song that I think was from an NHL video game, right?
That's the one song that I knew from them that I was like, this is a pretty catchy song. I like it,
Right.
But man, like, I don't know. Just I know live performances always aren't going to be like what they play in the studio, but I don't know. It's just, and Jonas Brothers I could give to, what's like, whatever.
Right.
They're cool.
It's the Joey Bag of Donuts thing though. Like, what is that? The third string quarterback who's no longer with the Giants anymore. Give me a break with this guy.
Tommy DeVito. Like, dude, come on.
I know it's not donuts. What is it that chicken cutlets? Is that what it is?
Tommy Cutlets, yeah.
Tommy Cutlets. Give me a break.
There's so many other people that they could have gotten to do that it would have been like, oh, that's pretty cool. And with him at the end, forget about it. I'm just like, douchebag. Like, I hope you get signed to like the Canadian Football League.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And it's just this weird like ode to New Jersey thing going on. But New York teams are the teams that play in that stadium.
My problems with New Jersey run deep. I'm not gonna lie. I have a coworker who's originally from South Jersey, and she's like, nobody knows pizza like we do in New Jersey. And I'm like, yeah, I'm stopping myself because like she's a sweet lady.
And I have a significant other who would beg to differ.
Right. I'm not gonna say like their pizza is not great. Their pizza is great, but I'm like, it's not like a New Jersey thing. It's like,
right.
I don't even know. Like, it's like me saying like, hey, nobody makes the best potato chips except for us here in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Like, right. They make great potato chips everywhere.
It's the water.
Yeah. It's the fact that they get transported in a special truck, the potatoes from Idaho,
Right. But, well, I mean, I got to tell you, the amount of notifications I got from the NHL app, it was like every time someone scored, it was like, it's a pork roll. It's Taylor ham. Oh my gosh.
That was part of the intro video too. Pork roll, Taylor ham. It's like
stupid.
Whatever.
Anyway,
like,
I mean,
call it Taylor ham. Like
the actual Taylor roll game. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't good. I mean, but I could have told you it wasn't going to be good after 30-something seconds.
Right. Like I said, I'm not going to put a ton of stock into how they played. I think it's a shame that, Urson's whole family was there and he didn't have the greatest game, but at least Tortorella didn't bench him.
Right. Well, and I think like being a goalie outdoors has got to be tough.
Oh yeah. The stadium lights probably are ridiculous.
Your whole perception has got to be thrown off.
Right. I liken it to like when I ran track, there was one track I hated because the depth, like when I pole vaulted, it was off. Something was off about it. There was like a hill behind and it made the bar look higher. And it's just an excuse for me not being that good. But regardless, I was like, yeah, the bar's supposed to be in there,
I learned something new about you. You pole vaulted?
I am fantastic with a pole in my hand.
Well, I mean, I knew that. I just didn't think you could lift yourself up over another pole.
It's not that hard when you just run fast enough. Momentum carries you,
Oh, there you go. You don't
did
really
watch a guy
like
almost die though.
Person who would put it down at the right time,
I got 2 kids, man. I put it down at the perfect time.
Some days I bet you're saying different.
Yeah, well, it's been about, year and a half, but regardless.
The problem is though with this game is it's like I'm in the same mindset as you where it's like I don't want to take it too seriously. However, it was a really big game.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
national spotlight's on you, you know?
well, no, I'm talking about just playing the Devils and the Devils behind us in a playoff race.
True. Now, we're still up on them, I think, like 7 points, something like that.
Sure, but they're
Um,
definitely games in hand.
right. I think they've got 2. So even
Right.
if, like, they won those 2, but then finished the rest of the season, both of them with the same record, like, the Flyers would still,
Right.
be ahead of them. But regardless, yeah, big game. They could have really had a great foot forward in terms of shutting that door. Um, just I don't know, man. I almost want to say it's characteristic of a team that is younger, a little bit more inexperienced,
Right.
but so is Jersey. Like
Right.
Jersey's a younger team. There's inexperience there too. So, not much of an excuse. The team just didn't show up to play, and Tippett
Right.
showed up to play. He looked decent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Morgan Frost ends up back in the press box for a game or two after the other night. So
I mean,
we'll
he's
see
been
there.
playing well before that, though. I,
He
I feel
has.
like I feel like I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Tortorella did that, but
Yeah,
just
it was a
one bad
rough
game.
right. It was a rough game, and I'll tell you what, the Konechny penalty he took, man, when he slashed the guy,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's not something you want to see from somebody in a leadership role.
No,
Yeah,
it's not. But I mean, whatever. Like again, if there was going to be a crappy game, you could throw a lot of different variables into why it was a crappy game.
right.
And I'm glad it's over. Now we don't have to
Oh
worry
yeah,
about it.
absolutely. And I mean, in terms of this past week, obviously, again, the game against Toronto, kind of the opposite of the, the game in New Jersey, where yeah, they did look rough, first 2 periods really, but then they come back third period from a 3-1 deficit, tie it up to take it into overtime, end up losing it. Austin Matthews has a hat trick, which,
In a
why
period,
not?
right? Was it just
One
one
period,
period? Yeah.
3 straight goals.
Yep.
3 straight goals, hat trick. I mean, I hate the guy, but he's so good, and there's got to be some respect there. But like, I don't know, that
I
whole
don't.
thing lingers with me where he didn't, where TK went after him last year, and he
Mm,
just, bitched
oh
out. I'm
yeah.
like,
I don't know. I kind of always liked Austin Matthews. I think he looks like a walrus.
yeah, he looks like a chubby Freddie Mercury to me.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I see that. The thing is, though, is it's like that right there shows you what the Flyers are missing. And Austin Matthews. No, but
Right.
like resilience is great. Star power is better.
Mhm.
It's like it's one of those situations where it is awesome that we stay in games, right? That we fight till the very end, that we get points when we probably shouldn't. But you see it time and time again, right? Especially during that 5-game losing streak. The star power beats our ass.
Mhm. It was, I think, the Colorado game too, a couple, I wanna say a month or so ago.
Colorado, Boston Pasternak did his
Yeah.
thing to us. Didn't
Yeah.
Was it McDavid too? I mean, that whole string of games. I think McDavid. I might be making
I
that up, but
believe you're right.
Kucherov.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, it's the big names, and
Mhm.
they're gonna gash you because we don't have that. We
Right.
we just don't. And could we have it in the next 2 to 3 years with a guy like Michkov, maybe a free agent signing? Free agent signing much less likely, but
Right.
we could,
Right.
but until then, I'm not going to say we're treading water because we're still competitive. We've got some quality players that have bought into a system that works. However, how much longer until we're done getting gashed by these guys that are just far head and shoulders above the rest of us?
Right. I mean, you need a guy who can open up a game, right?
Mhm. Yep. And I mean, they're hoping that's a guy like Tippett. Tippett's not a superstar. Like
No.
he's not that pedigree. He's not that caliber. He's damn good. Konechny's damn good, even
Right.
better than Tippett. They're not there though.
No. And that's fine.
Sure.
That's fine. I mean, I love the people that are like, "Whoa, Travis Konechny's our superstar." Like, yeah, he's our superstar,
Yeah.
right? But that doesn't
Right.
equate to the superstars of other teams. And it's,
Yeah.
it's like we have great building blocks. We've got like great supplemental pieces. But imagine Konechny and Tippett when you get a guy like Mitchkov, or if you had an Austin Matthews or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, I was pretty happy we got a point in that game because
Oh yeah.
it'll look good.
No, I mean they should be proud that they got a point out of that game, honestly.
Yep.
Which they shouldn't have gotten hadn't it been for that third period in that last 4 minutes or something like that.
Right.
So good good start to the week, we'll say. A crappy ending. Sucks is what it is. We move forward. We got another game here coming up in the next night or so. But
Chicago, right?
I believe so. That
Yeah.
there should be a rebound game there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But regardless, moving forward here, though, we do now have a captain. And it is someone that I think doesn't shock anybody.
No, it would have been like 2-1 odds.
Right. Yeah. Like, congrats. You made a couple bucks. But Sean Couturier is the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers. Comes at a time where, Tortorella had been very vocal about saying, like, I'm not going to name a captain, yada, yada, yada. We're going to, have someone earn this. Is it weird timing to you? Like, I've got my theory here. And I feel like I'm the conspiracy theorist of this show.
Right.
But, like, I don't know. Weird timing for you at all?
I mean, initially it was, right? I was like, well, this is why do this now? Just wait, right? But I almost feel like it was a gesture to the whole team where it was like, I wasn't ready to take all of you as seriously as some might have been. And I felt like this team wasn't in a position to have a leadership group because I didn't trust anybody to play well enough to stick around long enough.
Mm-hmm.
But because of how the team's been playing, the fact that they're in a playoff position, right? Sean Couturier is now proven that he can stay healthy. I know that I just killed him by saying
Way to
that.
go.
Where it was kind of like Tortorella going like, okay, you've proved me wrong. So here's our leadership group. I now believe in you enough to establish an actual, nucleus of leaders.
Right. And I mean, in my mind, it's the right group. It's the group that earned it. You're Scott Lawton, Travis Konechny, Sean Couturier. I think in terms of captaincy too, like the argument could be made that Konechny could have been captain too, but viewing it from logical sounds kind of like a negative connotation to it, but like a more logical viewpoint on this is that the captain gets to make the decisions on the ice when it comes to penalties, when there's, this or that, whatever it might be. I want somebody that can think about it methodically as opposed to a Travis Konechny that might think about it heat of the moment. Emotions get the best of him sometimes. Like with Couturier, he's stone-faced. He is, methodical. He's intelligent. His hockey IQ is off the charts. So that's the type of guy I want making those decisions, and I'm glad it's going to be him. In my mind, though, I wonder, and again, just complete curiosity, I wonder if there was a bit of pressure put on maybe not just Tortorella, but like the organization as a whole, because they're outdoors. It's a national broadcast. You don't have a captain. Is it like, hey, man, listen, it'd be nice if, Marty Brodeur could drop the puck to your captain instead of, just a guy wearing an A on his chest or somebody that doesn't have a letter on his chest. Like, again, that probably didn't play a huge factor in it, but I wonder if that was some like, back and forth saying like, would be nice.
I just would wonder if it would have, delayed things longer, though, the way that John Tortorella operates. He doesn't seem like somebody who would bend to that kind of pressure.
You dig his heels into the sand a little more and be like, you want your captain today? I'll give him to you in 3 years.
Right. I mean, I think that like Sean Couturier was the answer, right? I think that John Tortorella was waiting to see if Couturier could remain healthy because you can't have a captain who isn't playing, right? So I think that part of the reason that he held off was because he waited to see if Couturier could stay on the ice.
Right.
I just feel like he's the elder statesman, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's also dedicated himself to this team, even though they are going through a rebuild. He's kind of putting himself in potentially a tough position, having to do a lot of losing. I mean, again, we've been outperforming. So I think that there was just respect there. Right. And again, like Konechny doesn't yell captain to me.
Yeah. His play does, but that's not all you need to factor in. And like,
right.
with
captain is
Couturier,
not your best player. It doesn't have to be your
Right.
best player.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin Brown was captain of the Kings. There's much better players out there, but like perfect timing in terms of proving himself from an injury standpoint. Because I mean, against Toronto, Couturier took that rough slash from what was it? Who's the guy? Not Bertuzzi. The kid, Tyler Bertuzzi.
Tyler
I think.
Bertuzzi,
Yeah, and everybody was so worried because he came up limp, didn't come back in the game, and there he is back for the Stadium Series game. But no, smart choice.
Right.
I think popular choice too, honestly, just because again, the contract's there. He's there for the long haul.
Right.
Not a terrible cap hit, and I mean, he's a wise man. He's a very, very smart hockey player, and he'll be, in my opinion, a great guy for some of these younger guys to look up to. When they come up, when they get their feet wet in the NHL, Bobby Brink could learn something, Tyson Forrester too, like Sell, who's Tumala.
Somebody they haven't drafted yet,
Right, exactly. Any young kid coming up through could learn a lot from a guy like Sean Couturier. So great in my mind. I think that's a net positive, best way to put it. Anything else to add?
No, I mean, I don't expect that contract to age quite well, but
nobody does.
that doesn't really factor into the captaincy aspect. I think it was the right choice. And now that we just don't need that extra chatter. There's enough going on with this organization in terms of extra chatter. It's good to at least, I mean, captaincy and what else is going on really aren't comparable, but I mean, I have no bones to pick with that decision.
Right. So then I guess the next, natural line of succession here in terms of what we're going to talk about, we want to get to the situation here on the blue line, which I feel like we've been touching on for almost every single week.
Sure.
This past month. But it bears discussion just in terms of the deadline looming. And now with the injury to Ristolainen being the main component here, let's talk about approach. And let's talk about how that injury could impact the approach of a guy like Danny Briere and the moves that he's going to make. So what's your take in regards to the Ristolainen injury and how that might impact how Danny Briere handles the trade deadline?
I don't think it impacts it at all. I think that he has a set price for Sealer or Walker. I mean, Walker is more of kind of like the trickle-down effect with Ristolainen, and I don't think it's necessarily Sealer. It's more of like, would you hold on to Walker because Ristolainen's hurt? And I think he set a price. I think it's high, and I think that if someone meets it, he's still going to trade him. I know that there are discussions, just people kind of going back and forth about, well, what if the Flyers want to extend him? I wouldn't go against that. I'm sure that the Flyers would consider it. But again, I think Danny Briere has a price. And he's like, well, I can pay you this. And that's it. And I can't budge. So I need you to know that, like, that this is the price, just the same way with the trade, right? This is the price for him. We're happy to just hold on to him till the end and see how far we can go. Because how this organization has preached over and over again that they're still in rebuild mode, I don't think that Ristolainen being hurt for a long time impacts this really at all.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And honestly, I think that regardless, I mean, there could be another injury on the blue line to me.
Right.
Because I mean, we saw again, Cam York got hurt in the Toronto game, but he was back for the Winter Classic, Stadium Series. Sorry. Even if he got hurt again, and was out for an elongated period of time, I still think that they hold par for the course and look to trade Walker. I wouldn't be entirely upset if they keep him. However, it needs to be known at that point that it's like, hey, the deal was not right.
Right.
If it was like a JVR situation where there was a deal there, even if it was for a 6th round pick for JVR, which I think was the rumor, it's like, you do it, you have to do it. With Walker, it's like originally he was going to fetch you probably a 4th round pick, just in terms of, beginning of the season, hasn't played for the Flyers yet. People are like, they'll try to flip him for a 4th rounder. He has grown that to the point where Danny Briere has rightfully probably asked teams for a 1st rounder.
Yep.
And I think that's fair. If he can't get that 1st round pick, Are you comfortable, John, with like a second and a quality prospect?
Nope.
No?
Nope. I want a first, at least a first and something. Yeah.
Oh boy.
You are in a position of strength right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to settle for anything. If teams really want this player, and we all know that right-handed defensemen are unicorns,
Mm-hmm.
the conversation starts at a first rounder and see what else you can do for me.
How much of this hinges on Calgary right now with Tanev? So the backstory to this, like Calgary was supposed to be this big seller, like Hannafin's on the market, Tanev. There's a forward too. I'm not quite sure. I know Lindholm obviously got traded, but they're saying that Tanev was going to net you like a second and a prospect, if not a first. Now, maybe I'm a homer. I think Walker's a better defenseman than Tanev.
I mean, but Tanev's got a better a longer track record.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, that could easily be dispelled because it's like a team comes to either team and it's like, do you want to win now or do you want to win like 3 years ago? And, Yeah. So, I mean, in my mind, you could get better value for Walker, and especially if Danny Briere is going to hold steady and hold firm at that first round pick. Now, if it's just a first rounder, are you comfortable with that deal?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, like, obviously I'm kind of like first rounder but it's more of like first rounder needs to be the conversation starter. I think if you can get a first round pick for somebody who was a throw in on a trade,
right.
I can't see that being a bad thing, but I also, you don't know what kind of extension conversations are happening.
Right.
I
mean, could it be, and again, this might just be the optimist in me, but could it be like there's been the talk saying, hey, I want to sign you. However, I know what you're worth on the open market right now. If we trade you, here's my handshake agreement that this is going to be my contract offer. Not saying I'll sign you, but this will be my offer in the off season.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always feel like those conversations, get brought up amongst us or other people on podcasts. And it's like, how many of those actually wind up coming to fruition,
Right. I think we might be partially jaded just because of Justin Braun, but like Justin Braun and Sean Walker,
I mean, but also you need to look at this and go, is he just having a great year? Like, is this going to happen again? And are you taking a gamble on the chances that it will happen again when it likely won't? I don't know enough about him as a LA King to be like, oh yeah, this is typical healthy Sean Walker. So I think like if you're getting a first round pick, you've really got to consider doing it. And I know that there are definitely some risks that come with it because you've created a massive hole in your blue line for a team that's going to be in a playoff push.
Right. And I think too, like a lot of people are going to question it because it's like, again, hypothetically, one more defenseman goes down, Risto's out even longer than what the 1 month timeline they've given. It's like, who's going to play on the back end? Like there's options there. Like we're going to have to become comfortable with Mark Stahl becoming a mainstay in the lineup, but Ronnie Adder's waiting in the wings, Emil Andre, guy like Louis Belpedio, even like, again, in a season where we're clearly overachieving, it wouldn't be the worst thing to have somebody like that come and play when, again, Zamula's playing all right, serviceable. Sealer is Nick Sealer. He's doing his best on the third pairing. Still have Sanheim, still have York. You're doing okay. And Drysdale and Jamie Drysdale now comes in and just basically turns everything on its head. And it's like, oh yeah, people are definitely expendable on the blue line.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, I see a world more where we hold on to Nick Sealer.
100%.
Because I feel like we are going to value him more than any other team will.
Oh yeah. He is. And I think we had this discussion a week or so ago. Like we joke about, Hackstall and his glue guys. Like that's a goddamn glue guy.
Right.
Like
it's not Van de Velde.
Yeah, it's not Van de Velde, it's not Manning. Like it's Nick Sealer who's laying his body on the line night in and night out.
Right.
Excuse me. And you see the reactions he gets. Like Detroit was the prime example when the team was down 5-1 in the first. He
Yep.
goes, fights this guy, gets up, he's all riled up, and from there, boom, it was Mertitas, I think, is the one that brought it up on the show a
Right.
couple weeks
Yep.
ago. Like that man is a game changer, and
Right.
not the all-star type game changer, like a quintessential locker room game changer in which he can impact these guys just by his actions on the ice, and he doesn't even have to score a goal.
Right. Right.
When he
Yeah.
does, like the other night, it's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if you actually gave your answer here, but like I don't think the Ristolainen thing impacts the future for a blue liner. I mean, do you?
I don't think it does either.
No.
Now, could a team use that to their advantage or try to use that to their advantage? Sure, but that's all in perception. Danny B can just be like, I don't know where you're coming up with this. Like, we got guys waiting in the wings right now that I could call up in 30 minutes after I make this deal.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I think that it actually would work out for the Flyers on the flip side, because a team will come in and say, I'm interested in Walker. And Briere will go, well, he's become even more valuable to me now because I don't have Ristolainen. So if you want
Interesting.
Walker, now I need you to pay this.
Interesting way to look at it. Yeah. I didn't
Right.
think of that.
Because imagine if you're the other team going, well, I see your blue line's depleted. Let me take another one for you, and I'm going to give you a smaller offer. Like, that doesn't really
Doubt
match
it.
up. It's more the other way around. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, Briere's done nothing but lead us to believe he can maximize the deals that are put on the table for him.
Right.
Great deal with the Kings. The Drysdale trade as well, in terms of keeping things all hush hush in the Cutter Gauthier situation. Like, that's veteran level shit.
Right. And getting a, top-notch right-hand defenseman who has a whole career ahead of them for someone who didn't want to be here.
And a second-round pick.
And a
I mean, he had a
second-round pick.
second-round pick thrown in there. Like, you essentially switched around the same, like, again, this is apples and oranges with defensemen and forwards, but, like, I feel like they're on a similar tier to each other in
Right.
terms of their capabilities, and you got a pick for that, a second-round pick.
Right.
All things considered, with Gauthier saying he didn't want to be a Flyer, like, that right there, I'd expect a guy like Yzerman to make a deal like
Right.
that. Could you imagine if Chuck Fletcher ever made a deal like that?
No.
We'd have gotten hosed.
Right.
Absolutely hosed.
Yep.
So yeah, to answer the question, yes, it's the long way around it. It doesn't impact the way that they should handle the deadline. I don't think it does one bit. If anything, like you had mentioned before, and I wish I'd have thought of it, I'd have sounded smarter. I think it helps them. I think it absolutely helps them.
Drives up the cost.
Exactly. All right, man. 33 minutes in, and we ran out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah. No, great. I mean, one other thing I just want to bring up, and I want to spend 30 seconds on it. Our power play is so effing bad.
You're not wrong, it's
I
terrible.
we've been saying this since the show started, but it's just awful.
So interesting point here on the flip side about the penalty kill.
Yep.
Goal share, which I was completely unaware of, and I don't know if you know anything about goal share or not.
Mm-mm.
It's the amount of goals scored at any specific instance, like 5-on-4, 4-on-5,
Right, sure.
even strength. On the Flyers penalty kill, the Flyers goal share, I believe, was at 40%, meaning 40% of the goals scored while the Flyers are on the penalty kill are goals scored by the Flyers.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
So we need to implement a rule that when a team commits a penalty on you, you get to choose whether or not you want to be a man up or a man down.
I'd take man down 11 out of 10 times.
Yep.
60% of the time, every time. I agree. No, if they could find a way, and I know it's obviously impossible, to replicate the success they're having on the penalty kill and implement that on the power play, this team would be a juggernaut.
Could you just play with 4 skaters and 2 goalies on a power play? Just
I
have like
wish.
2 goalies share the crease for
Just
that time.
shoulder to shoulder, stack the pads. Nothing gets past them. They don't even come out to play the puck, when you got a
Right.
breakaway.
Yeah. Nope. They're just the wall for 2 minutes.
Yeah, take away the angle. What angle? There's nothing going between us.
I mean, their strategy right there. Or
Right.
just plop the fifth guy just behind the net and be like, stay there, pretend you're not even here.
Right. Like technically you need to be on the ice, but don't do anything.
Right. Just you stay.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, the power play is atrocious. And I think the only team worse is like Chicago. Or
Yeah.
no, I think because now they are 31st.
Yeah.
Because Pittsburgh's power play has been horrendous.
Yeah.
And it's like it's your typical bottom teams, Chicago, San Jose, and then like out of nowhere, you got the Flyers who are third place in the Metro, and they've got one of the worst power plays in the game. It's the exact opposite of what we're used to, where our power play was okay and our penalty kill was atrocious.
Right.
Yeah. But hey.
All right. Well, that's all I got to say.
That's all I've got to say about that. All right. Had to get that last one out there. But yeah, in terms of coming up here, a couple games this week, you had mentioned first game against Chicago. Hopefully a chance for the Flyers to right the ship. I mean, either way, we'll be talking about it probably same time next week, if not a day later. But thanks, guys, for listening. Check out our affiliates, too, over at Flyers High and Wide on X. They're on Twitter, on X, at FlyersHW. Our buddies over the 5 Minute Major Podcast, they're on Twitter at 5 Minute Major Pod. And as always, we will talk again next week, fellas, folks, ladies, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye now.